I actually spoke Spanish before my mission. I took probably 4 or 5 years of Spanish in high school. I got to my junior year. I call it my senior year of Spanish because by that time, I mean, pretty much all of my classmates who kept going, everybody decided to leave Spanish behind, and I was actually the only one taking the AP test when I took it. And I don't know, it was something that always really interested me. My sister had lived in Spain. My brother Jesse had also lived in Spain for a little while before his mission. And I just thought, you know, I wanted to be like them since I was little. You know, it was something that I always wanted to do, and I wanted to speak Spanish. I took that AP test and I actually failed. I did not get any college credit, and I hurt my self-esteem a little bit. By the time I got to BYU, I'd forgotten a significant amount of Spanish. I didn't think I wanted to do anything with it, and my mom told me, because she really, really wanted me to stay in the United States, that I wasn't going to speak Spanish on my mission. So she told me, you should take Spanish at BYU because that'll you know, help you at least keep your Spanish because you're good at it, because it's something that you love. And I took one class, and about 3/4 of the way into that class, realized that I still really love Spanish, and I was still good at it, even if I had failed that test. I guess just one grade hadn't really changed my mind. And I got my mission call to Argentina just at the very end, and decided to take one more class. I got a phone call one day of someone talking to me in Spanish, and I talked back in Spanish. I honestly didn't know who it was who was talking to me. It was a very nice sounding young lady, but by the end of it, she told me, okay, so we usually do these MTC interviews, and usually we place people in intermediate groups, but it sounds to me like you've had a lot of experience with Spanish. We'll put you in an advanced group, so you can go to Argentina in 2 or 3 weeks. And really, the idea made me nervous. The idea of going so fast, of going from just really culture shocking myself, really kind of scared me. And after 2 weeks in the MTC, I kind of realized that, they realized that they didn't have my visa yet, that they had kind of mistimed it. It wasn't, you know, quite the accelerating of the work. I guess there were a few sticks in the gear shift as they were trying to accelerate the work at that time. But they actually sent me to my hometown, to Salt Lake, to serve for all the time I would have been in the MTC. And there I learned, you know, even more Spanish, but more importantly, I learned how to be a missionary, and I discovered really my motivation of being on the mission. I think sometimes we overlook what elders have to do to decide to serve, because it is an obligation, it is a commandment. If you're a faithful member of the church and you're at that age, you're expected to go on a mission. And that's hard for a lot of people. It was never hard for me, because when I was 8 years old, you know, my brother went on a mission, and I said, I'm going to do that when I'm older, because I always had the example. But when you're out there, I mean, you're not with your older brother, or your dad, or your mom, or whoever convinced you that you should go on a mission if you're an elder, and you realize that it was an obligation, and you have to decide what exactly are you doing on the mission for you. And the mission is a selfless service, but you do have to have an internal motivation, because pretty much all your other motivations are going to fail you if they're your mainstay. I mean, it's pretty much just you and the Lord, and you have a companion. If you're good at loving people, you have a companion, and you have a bunch of people supporting the mission. You have there's never a lack of people to love, regardless of where you are. I found out, like, in my own backyard in Salt Lake, that there were plenty of people who needed the gospel, and I'd never been to some of those parts of town. Maybe in a more just apprehensive way, thinking that they were bad. It was the wrong side of the tracks. But people genuinely accepted the gospel there, and genuinely accepted it in Argentina. And I realized that my motivation was a lot more than just obeying a commandment. It was serving God. And by the time I got to Argentina, I spoke really good Spanish at this point. I sounded like a Mexican. Everyone told me I sounded like a Mexican. There's a TV show called Chavo del Ocho, and they used to call me El Chavo. He's kind of a goofy Homer Simpson type character. It's live action, but yeah, they would call me El Chavo because I sounded like him. And I realized then also with some commentary from my mission president, from my father, that a lot of what I had done to learn Spanish was probably inspiration to help me serve the Lord. And that's definitely something that people need to do as they prepare to serve. One, find their motivation, and two, expand their talents in whatever they love to do, as long as it's a righteous thing. I mean, you can feel Heavenly Father's pleasure. But I mean, we're up to the mission point. That's the extent of my pre-mission wisdom, but there you go.